Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam. If you're new here, I am an artist based in Arizona. I make stationery and talk about my shop. So in this video, I'm trying to make pins for the first time. So I got the inspiration for making these pins from someone on Instagram called Perdita00. I'll have a link to their Instagram down in the description if you're interested in seeing more of their stuff. They make super cute pins out of shrink plastic. So I really wanted to try it out myself and see how it would go. So the designs that I wanted to turn into pins is actually my super bunny sticker as well as my butterfly sticker. So the supplies that I used to make these are shrink plastic film that I got from a brand called Blydruck. I don't know how to pronounce that if I'm pronouncing it right, but I'm using the glossy white paper for this version. The other supplies that you'll be needing is UV resin and also a UV resin curing lamp. Make sure to wear a mask when using UV resin. I also use E6000 glue and some pin backings. I will also have a link to all of the supplies that I use in the description. So my pins are around 1 inch tall, so I made the design around 3 to 4 inches tall and made sure that I lightened up the colors a lot, because once you shrink down the design, it will actually darken up the color. And so if you're doing like a yellow background, make sure to have the lightest possible shade of yellow as the background because it will dry darker. Next, I try and fit as many bunnies as I can to one sheet of paper and make sure to add a bleed just in case the Cricut misaligns the cut. I go ahead and print them out on the high quality setting and on the matte side of the shrink paper. So for my first attempt at making these pins, I really wanted to experiment with how the colors change when I actually shrink the pins. So for the first one that I made, I actually used colored pencils and Posca pens to color in the bunnies. What I learned from this is that this is not the greatest idea, so do not copy me here. Unfortunately, whatever color you're using to color in the pins before you shrink them, it will shrink darker. So for the next ones that I do, the official ones, I actually make sure to not color the background at all because I really wanted a nice pastel background. I just made sure to do that for the rest of the pins that I would be selling. Another good tip is that if you are unsure about how the colors will dry, get a separate sheet of the shrinking paper and then put the colors that you want to use. Use some color swatches on there and then shrink the color swatches, and then you'll get an accurate representation of what the colors will look like once they're shrunk down. Also, in the beginning, my Cricut did not cut out the bunnies all the way through. I had no idea what cut settings to use, so I kind of just picked whatever and I had to cut them out all by hand. But the second time when I made the butterfly pins, I did do the correct cut settings, so I'll talk about that later on as well.
Huh?
After I have all the bunny designs cut out, I use a heat gun to basically shrink the pins down to size. You can also use an oven if you want to go for a quicker method. I just wanted to use a heat gun so I could make sure that I have it as flat as I wanted it to be. I also used a stick to make sure the design would not fly away. And then I used something flat like a ruler and a porcelain dish that I had. Anything heavy will do. And this is how it came out.
The next day.
After that, I made the butterfly pins. So this is where I actually got it right this time. So if you're using a Cricut when cutting these out, the way that works for me is that I get a piece of washi tape, and the thing that I do is I double side the washi tape and then place them onto the backs of the butterfly pins. That way they don't slide off when they're getting cut. And so for the settings that I use for my Cricut to be able to cut the shrink plastic, I use the metallic poster board setting at 350 pressure and at 3 times rotation speed. Go ahead and try that out and see if it works for you. After that, I go ahead and repeat the same steps for the butterfly pins. And ta-da! Look how cute it came out. I love how the butterfly ones came out. And here I am just showing how the official bunnies will look, but for now I wanted to experiment with using the UV resin. So when you're putting the UV resin on, make sure that you're trying to make the least amount of bubbles as possible. And then just to make sure that there are no more bubbles in the UV resin, I go ahead and use a lighter and go over it for a couple of seconds. Don't go over it for too long because then you can actually make more bubbles, so just go over it for like a second or two. After that, I go ahead and put it under the UV resin lamp for around 3 minutes. For my first attempt, there was actually a lot of bubbles, so to combat that, I go ahead and do another coat of UV resin on top just to make sure that it has a nice smooth surface. And then you're done. Next, I get the E6000 glue and then get the pin backings and then go ahead and stick them onto the back of each pin. Next, I go ahead and make the backing cards for each pin. So for this one, I'm doing 2 different pins, the butterfly one and the bunny one. So I made 2 different backings for them. And my printer does not print on very thick paper. It has a hard time printing on that. So a hack that I learned is that I can actually print them onto sticker paper and then put them onto a thick cardstock. After that, I go ahead and run it through my laminator machine just to make sure that there are no bubbles, and it makes it so much easier than using a ruler or like a squeegee. Next, I just go ahead and get my paper trimmer and cut them out. There's actually a tip that I learned online that if you use glassine paper and put it underneath whatever you're cutting, it actually gets a really nice sharp line. So I wanted to try it out and oh my god, it worked! Finally, I have had so much struggles with getting a nice crisp sharp line and this has helped so much. As you can see, the part that I used the glassine on, it has a nice crisp line, there's no like frayed edges, and then the part that I didn't, there's a lot of frayed edges. So if you're struggling with that, go ahead and try that out and see if it works. Also, another tip is that you can actually save the backing sheets from the sticker sheets, and you can also use them in the same way as the glassine. It's a good way to recycle and reuse the sticker backings while also not wasting materials. And yeah, that's basically how I make the pins. So if you're interested in any of these pins, I'll have them linked down in the description on my Etsy shop if you want to buy one of the bunny pins or the butterfly pins. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos of mine. But yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye!